Hello friends, it's your art teacher Miss Barnett. In today's lesson, Texture and Places, we've been talking about two different types of texture. We've been talking about real texture, which are things that we can feel when we touch, as well as visual texture, which is small patterns of repeated marks that artists use to make it look like something would feel. But if you touched it, it would feel like the paper or the surface that's painted on. So today we're going to be creating both real and visual texture with a resist painting. So we're going to need a small piece of paper to practice. We're going to practice making visual texture with our brush strokes, as well as you can practice mixing tones, which are, shades, which are colors mixed with black, and tints, which are colors mixed with white. We're going to need a piece of black paper. I have a 12 by 18 sheet of paper. And you're going to need glue to create our real textures and chalk to sketch. You'll also need a little bit of paint to practice with. One color should do you fine until we get to the blacks and whites, and some variety of brushes. So gather your materials and let's get started. All right, friends, I have my practice paper. I have my paint, my one color of paint to practice with, and some white and some black. And I have my water cup with brushes. So what we're going to do first is practice using the brushes to create different textures. So I've got a flat brush here. We can dip it in the paint, and we could use it like this. So I'm using the side and kind of stamping with the brush. We could use the tip of the brush. And we could also do some repeated lines, like wavy lines, to make a texture. We can also do that same technique with a smaller flat brush. So again, I'm just dabbing. And of course, a smaller brush is going to make smaller marks. The tip. And then we could do different lines. We could even do zigzags. Good. Now let's try it with the round. So a round brush is called a round because when you look at it by the ferrule, it's round. Let's try using the side. So that gives us more of a rounded, circular kind of texture. We could use the tip, and that also kind of makes dots. And then of course we could make lines to make different textures. Let's try the smallest round. Again, the smaller brush makes smaller marks. The tip. Good. Now, let's talk about mixing colors to make lights and darks. So on our palette, I can show you how to mix. To make a shade, we're going to take some blue and just a little bit of black and mix to make a darker color of blue. You can see here, compared to the other blue, it's much darker. Then to make a tint or a lighter color, we're going to use a lot of white and just a little bit of blue. You can see that the more white you use, the lighter the color is. If you want a darker tint, we can add more blue. And we can make a variety of tints and shades that way. So you will of course have more than one color when we start painting this. So think about how you're going to show lights and darks and how you're going to use your brush to create visual texture. Once we've done that, you can get out your black paper and we're going to sketch a landscape with our chalk. and I will show you how to do that. You can watch me make mine. Here we go. All right, friends, I just finished my sketch. It's going to be a stone footbridge with a river and lots of trees and bushes. So now I'm going to use my glue and outline on top of all of these lines, and we'll let that sit overnight and dry. Here we go. All right, friends, I see that I've got some mistakes going on here where the glue has kind of pulled together right here. So I'm going to get some Q-tips because it's a small area. I'm going to wipe away some of this. Try to lift it out so it's still nice and neat like my drawing. If it's a bigger area, you could probably use a tissue. Just try not to apply over applied. So try to go easy with the glue. Also, do not let the nozzle touch the paper. It will definitely make it harder to see your final lines if it touches the paper. And if it goes off the sides and you get it on the table, that's okay. We can just take a paper towel and wipe it up. So you can use a Q-tip to clean up some of this or move it around. And that's fine. I'm going to keep working on pulling this off and put it on the dry rack, and we'll see how it looks tomorrow. All right, my friends, the glue has dried. It is good to go. I still have a little bit of chalk, but that's okay. So now I'm going to take my paint. I'm going to mix my colors that I want to use in my picture using the primaries. Remember, all colors are made with these 5 colors: yellow, red, blue, black, and white. And remember, a lot of white with a little bit of color makes a light tint, and a little bit of color or a little bit of black with a lot of color makes a shade. So we're going to get started. Remember, we're going to let the texture of the brush show. So we're going to let some of this black paper show through. I'm going to get started and you can watch. Here we go. All right, friends, here's my finished Seeing Texture in Places project. I really like how this came out. I love how we can have visual texture, which we can see, and then we can touch and feel the real texture of this. I cannot wait to see how yours turn out. Make sure you leave black spaces, fill up your paper, use lots of colors, and don't forget your only limitation is your own imagination. Let's get started.